Hello everyone. So today we are going to talk about India's exit from the World Cup and what went wrong. So before I get started with my analysis, I just wanted to highlight one thing that all of us believed that India is one of the strongest contender along with England. And will India go to the semi-final? I believe that, and most of the people believe that, right? So it's not, it is a surprise. Even if I'm trying to analyze this result, it is still a surprise for me, and I believe for a lot of people, right? So when we talk about the factors that contributed to India's exit, right, we'll start with the uncontrollables, right? The factors which probably was not in team's control once the selection was done, right? So let's get the uncontrollables out of the way, and then we'll talk about the factors that we could have done better on, right? So first of all, scheduling, right? So I think I'm okay with the scheduling of the first match, India versus Pakistan, but India versus New Zealand match, the scheduling could have been better, and it should have been the last match of the league, actually, especially when BCCI is the host, and when I believe they, along with ICC and along with the broadcasters, I think they had to have a say in the scheduling, and I think it should have been better. Two big matches, right? First two matches, back-to-back big matches, right? It's really difficult. If T20 is a game of momentum, and the fact that India's group actually didn't have any kind of established side, right? So there were less chances of upset actually in that group, which meant that if you lose from Pakistan and New Zealand, then you are out of the tournament, and that's what happened, right? The other uncontrollable that didn't go our way, it was the toss, right? We lost, I think, both the toss were key, and I think at that point, at early stage of the tournament, there was due factor also playing a massive role, right? So yeah, we lost the toss at wrong time, right? And then the third factor, and I'm calling it uncontrollable, right? Because as I highlighted initially, once the team was selected, right, this is not something that Indian management could have done much on, right? And I'm talking about the balance of the side, right? And India, I think for last 4 or 5 years, I believe, has been struggling for the balance of the side, right? Just lack of all-rounders. I mean, our top order doesn't ball, right? Even some of the players who initially bowled, like Rohit Sharma or Kohli, they don't bowl anymore. And Hardik Pandya, who is a genuine all-rounder. I still believe he's a genuine all-rounder, right? But due to fitness issues, he was not able to bowl. So, and then our lower order doesn't bat. So the balance of side is not really in the best shape. If you look at the best sides around the world cricket or franchise cricket, they all have good balance, right? If you talk about Mumbai Indians, if you talk about CSK, they have good balance. Mumbai Indians struggled this year because they didn't have the balance. And if you talk about the sides which are in the top four, right? New Zealand, England, Australia, and Pakistan, they all have a very good balance. And especially in T20, the balance of the side is very important. Reason being because in T20, you have to have options, right? You can't, one over matters a lot, and the momentum matters a lot. So just having that extra option is always beneficial for the captain. Not probably I think the matchups are also important, but just having that extra option, I think like releases a bit of pressure uh, from uh, from everyone, right? From the all-rounders, or from the, for example, if you have a bit of batting depth, then probably your number 5, number 6, number 7, they play a bit freely, right? They can start to take risk earlier, right? And similarly, if you have extra bowling options, then the captain has those options, and the guys are not under the pump all the time, right? Ideally, a T20 side should have 4 fast bowler and 2 spinners, or 3 fast bowler, 3 spinners, depending on the situation. Like that is a minimum requirement, uh, you know, for an ideal T20 side. If you don't have this balance, then you are dependent on factors to go your way, right? The factors that I just highlighted, scheduling and toss, then you are dependent on these factors to go your way, right? If everything goes your way, right? And like obviously you need the quality as well, but the balance gives you that extra option. Then now we'll move to the controllable factors, which I think once the team was selected, it was pretty much under captain. I would start with the captain, and then under team management's decision, right? So I'll start with the first match, right? And I will just analyze the first 2 match because I believe the last 3 match were not much of a competition actually, right? And it was losing, even there was not even 10% of chance of losing even one of those 3 matches, right? So I think it was like hugely in India's favor, and like we were kind of relieved from the pressure as well. So I will not talk about the last 2 matches, the last 3 matches, right? I will just talk about the first 2 matches, and also because we are talking about the India's exit from the tournament, and we all know we exit because of the first 2 matches, right? I think in the first match there was not much of a I think Pakistan team was really good, right? And there was unbelievable spell from Shaheen Afridi, and I think the ball to Rohit and Rahul, like those were exceptional deliveries, right? So I think that was a big factor, but I think tactically we missed a few tricks, right? First of all, we missed a trick in the team selection, right? As Shardul Thakur should have played instead of Fubi, based on his form in IPL, right? And just for the fact that he's a better T20 batter, right? So he gives you that extra, depth in the batting. And I think Bhuvi is more of a test batsman, or batsman who can take singles, rotate a strike, but he's not a big hitter. And if you want your number 8 to play just 6-7 balls, then probably Shardul is a better option. And the other thing was that he, the other reason why I think it was a tactical mistake was because he can actually give you wickets in the middle over, right? So Shardul Thakur, you might have seen in the IPL the way Dhoni used him, right? Dhoni used him to get wickets in the middle over. And I think he is really good at that phase, right? He puts that extra yard, he puts that extra effort, right, to get you the wicket. He's probably 5 or 6 kilometers faster than Bhuvneshwar as well, right? That is really a kind of big factor, especially in Abu Dhabi or in Dubai, right? Because your short balls are essentially more crucial, right? Because it just gives you more margin of error, and then it's as good an option as your Yorkers, right? And the other thing was that the reason we needed a bowler for the middle overs, right, a fast bowler for the middle overs, was because Fubi and Bumrah, right? So Bumrah you are going to use upfront and probably 1 over at max in the middle, and then at 2 overs in the death, right? Like you save Bumrah's 2 overs for the death, right? And if you are using let's say 2 overs in the first six, right? If you, let's say you are put under pressure, then it's just you don't have the option to use 2 overs in the first six, and then you can't use him in the, like, you just find you just want Bumrah to bowl all the time, and he can't do that, right? And then Bhuvi probably is not a very good bowler in the middle phase, right? He was good at death. I'm not sure, looking at his recent form. He probably can still improve, and he can still like make a comeback, right? But in, based on the current form, he's not a good bowler at the death. And he's also, I think, not in the best form in the first 6 overs as well, right? And then in the first 6 overs, you had the options, right? So you have Varun Chakravarti, who is bowling in the first 6 overs, and then you had Mohammad Shami, right? And then you have Shardul Thakur. So you have, Shardul Thakur was not selected, but you have and then you have Jasprit Bumrah. So, right, you already have 3 options for the first 6, right? Shardul could also have bowled probably 1 or 2 overs. Jaddu can bowl 1 or 2 overs. So you had a lot of options in the first 6. So you probably needed someone who, who could have given you some extra options in the death over, right? And I think, the batting depth, what I touched based earlier on, that is also quite important. So just having Shardul at 8 enables Jadeja and Hardik Pandya to play more freely. And probably top order batsmen don't realize it, but I think that is why in Dhoni's team you will always see some extra kind of extra batting depth, because he being a finisher, he realizes the importance of number 8, number 9. And then I think in batting also, so I'll move to the second, not a tactical, but more of a decision making that didn't go our way. I think in batting also, we could have played a bit better when Virat and Rishabh were batting, right? So I think once Rishabh started hitting those boundaries, I think probably in the middle they decided that only Rishabh is going to take the risky option, right? Because Virat was at that time not trying to hit the ball. Only Rishabh was trying, and the dimensions of the ground was such that the legs, it was one side shorter, right? Which meant that ideally one of them should have tried to hit in 1 over, right? Depending on whichever is the shorter side. And the reason I say this could have actually helped India, because if you look at the ball that Rishabh tried to hit, Shadab's ball, right? He tried to hit it really hard, and that is why he mistimed it. And if you look at the earlier, earlier hits that he had, 100 to 106, right, of Hassan Ali. So he didn't try to hit the ball hard because he knew the boundaries were shorter. So he just need to time it, right? And when you just try to time it, then it's less riskier, and probably it's a better option, right? So Virat should have told Rishabh to actually just take single, not try to hit Shadab at that time, and Virat should have tried that. So I think probably not a good decision making at that time. And I think once in the bowling also, I think we should have used Bumrah maybe 3 overs up front, right? Because like Bhuvaneshwar can give you 2 overs in the death. So we should have tried to use Bumrah 3 overs up front. So we should have tried to take wickets, right, by using our fast bowlers much more than we did, right? We were actually we played actually to the narrative, right? So I think the narrative has been that Pakistan are not a good chasing side, and they will, we banked on the fact that they will somewhere down the line they will panic, and they didn't, right? We thought that if we just keep applying the pressure, they will panic, and that is why I think Virat kept bowling the spinners, because spinners were just kind of not giving away much. And then in the last over, I think for both Varun and Jadeja, I think they hit them in the last over, right? So I think Pakistan did play really well, right? But some of the factors that I'm trying to analyze, and right, so I think that's about the first match. right? I think in the second match as well, I think second match was, I hate to say this, but I think one of the worst tactical match for any captain, I would say, right? I think so. In the first match, we didn't be proactive, right? And the second match, we tried too many things, right? We tried to be too much proactive, right? So sending Ishan Kishan before Rohit, I think like it's difficult to explain actually. For once, if it was Rahul, then I can understand a bit, but not Rohit, right? Because like Rahul is, I think in ODI also he plays 5-6. So I think like like you can understand. Ideally, Rohit and Rahul should have went right. If you look at the approach that India took in that, so initially the openers and Rohit Sharma at 3, they were trying to hit the ball, right? They were trying to be aggressive initially, right? The way Rahul got out, the way Ishan got out, the way Rohit get out, and that is why I think it was. So even if I go by the rationale of the team, then also I think it was a tactical blunder, because if your approach was to actually hit in the starting rather than build the innings, right? Then could have very well like asked Rohit and Rahul to do that, right? Because even if let's say Rohit or Rahul, someone gets out trying to hit the ball, then you have Ishan Kishan at number 3, right? So you could have used him as a floater, right? Rather than just like slotting him as an opener, right? And I think so I want to deep dive now into like how the decision came around, right? So there's one message that the team management is giving us, that it was a team's decision, and the reason we tried this because Surya was unfit and we couldn't fit Ishan Kishan anywhere else, which I think it's just a cover up. I think the fact that, so now I will deep dive into my rationale, my reason, right? So I think the fact that Trent Bolt, like they had Trent Bolt, right, and Shaheen had such an impact on the first match, right? I think, and Trent Bolt actually, I think, like we say that New Zealand like do not, like they just play your cricket and they don't try to get into your head. But Trent Bolt actually, I think that was a pretty good comment, right? Pretty shrewd comment actually, when he said that like he will try to get Rohit and Rahul just the way Shaheen did, right? And I think that played into like India played into New Zealand's hand a bit, right? So I think Ishan Kishan. So I don't think Surya was injured, right? I think that was a cover up. I think Ishan Kishan was just there to encounter Trent Bolt. That is the only possible explanation for having sending Ishan Kishan before Rohit Sharma. Otherwise, I don't think there is any other any other rationale behind it. And yeah, it was a tactical blunder, I think. And the reason I say it was a like worst tactical decision from a captain, because I believe it has to be someone's call, right? So it can't be the statement that we have received from the team management, that like I don't accept it, because it can't be team's management decision, right? So team management can chip in, right? Like, but someone has to be accountable for the decision, and I think that person is captain, right? And the other reason I feel that it was Kohli's decision, because I know for a fact that MS Dhoni will not do that. MS Dhoni will not make such a big change in such a big match, right? And like he sticks to the player, and like especially when you have players of Rohit and Rahul's quality. So that is one thing I know. Like I am pretty sure that Rohit Sharma, like if asked, I think he would have wanted to go to open, right, rather than just just taking number 3 position, right? And the other thing is that even if let's say we decided that Ishan and Rahul, we are opening with Ishan and Rahul, then I think then Kohli should have come at number 3 and then allowed Rohit at number 4, right? I think Rohit is probably a better hitter than Kohli or Surya or probably Pant, right? So I think Rohit can bat at number 4. He has done it in initial phase of his career, so he could have been very well done it, right? So I think like we made too many changes in the batting order, And yeah, I think New Zealand were fantastic, right? So things did go their way. I think like some of the hits that some of the lofted shots, or like some of the big hits that players tried, I think it went straight to the hand, right? But I think those things happen, right? You can't really blame those things, I think. But the thought process was negative, right? And the approach was also negative. So I think, it was a huge, I think, mistake from whoever took the call. For me, it has to be Kohli. So yeah, I think that is it. We will I will have another video on what Indian team management, or the BCCI, or like whoever is basically the guiding, like, or I think the Rahul Dravid or Rohit Sharma, right? I think, like, if you just call the coach and captain, so what they can do. So I will make another video on what they can do for next World Cup, that is in Australia 2021. So yeah, thank you, and have a great day, night, whatever, wherever you are. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy the remaining matches of the ICC T20 World Cup.